The Kree-Lax warship exploded in a silent burst of crimson flame, adding another brief sun to the battlefield above New Eden. Captain Ryan Drake watched the destruction through cracked helmet glass, his breath ragged. Blood from a shrapnel wound trickled down his face, but he couldn't spare a hand to wipe it away. Not while piloting with one functioning engine. "Status on the Meridian evacuees?" he demanded, wrestling his damaged Firestar fighter through a brutal turn that threatened to black him out. The G-forces crushed his already battered body. 700 civilians still groundside, sir, Lieutenant Mason Chen reported, his voice tight with strain as he managed weapon systems. "The Eldari refugee ships are taking heavy fire. They won't last another 10 minutes. Drake's jaw clenched. The Eldari, peaceful crystalline beings who'd helped humanity develop faster than light travel. Now they were being systematically exterminated by the Kree-Lax Dominion for that very crime of assistance. The same fate awaited any species that dared ally with the primitive humans. "Meridian Squadron, form up on me," Drake ordered, banking his fighter toward the burning atmosphere of New Eden. "We're going back in." "Sir, with respect, we've got multiple hull breaches and critical system failures across the squadron," his XO, James Walsh, cut in. "Another atmospheric entry could tear us apart." "Then we tear apart." Drake's voice was steel. "But we don't abandon allies." The response was immediate. "Aye, sir." A ragged chorus of acknowledgments as 12 battered Firestar fighters fell into formation. Not a single pilot hesitated. From his command ship at the edge of the system, Supreme Commander Vex Thor of the Kree-Lax Dominion watched the human fighters dive back into the atmosphere with mounting disbelief. His sensor officer's report confirmed what his 4 eyes were telling him. "Impossible," he growled, mandibles clicking. "Their ships are critically damaged. They cannot survive re-entry." "The humans appear to be. Disregarding that fact, Supreme Commander," his tactical officer observed. Vex Thor's scales rippled with irritation. These humans were becoming more than just an irritant. Their constant defiance of probability and survival odds was disrupting his carefully planned extinction campaign. They should have broken and fled when he destroyed their outer colonies. Instead, they fought harder. Should have surrendered when he targeted their allies. Instead, they threw themselves into hopeless battles to protect species they barely knew. The tactical display showed the human fighters plummeting through New Eden's atmosphere, their hulls glowing white-hot. 3 of them broke apart from the stress. The rest pressed on, straight toward the Kree-Lax ground forces attacking the Eldari evacuation ships. "Magnificent bastards," Walsh breathed as another fighter in their formation disintegrated. "It's been an honor, Captain." "Save it for after," Drake snapped, though his own eyes stung with sweat and unshed tears. "Arm everything we've got left. We're going to clear a path for those evacuees or die trying." They broke through the cloud layer into hell. The spaceport below was a nightmare of plasma fire and burning wreckage. Kree-Lax shock troops were advancing on the last handful of Eldari ships still loading civilians. The crystalline beings moved as fast as their fragile forms allowed, helping the elderly and children aboard while their own warriors bought time with their lives. "For Earth and New Eden," Drake roared, rolling his fighter into a steep dive. "Light these bastards up." The remaining Firestars screamed down like avenging angels, unleashing their full arsenal. Plasma torpedoes, railgun bursts, and missile salvos devastated the Kree-Lax lines. Drake's targeting computer was fried, so he aimed by instinct and fury, strafing enemy positions until his weapons ran dry. A particle beam caught Walsh's fighter, vaporizing it instantly. 2 more Firestars went down in flames, but their sacrifice created the opening the evacuees needed. "Final Eldari ship is away," Chen reported jubilantly. Then, multiple hostiles point-blank range. Drake saw them. A wave of Kree-Lax fighters diving on their position. His ship's warning systems were a symphony of critical failure alerts. No weapons, failing life support, structural integrity at 12%. "All units, scatter and run for orbit," he ordered, knowing it was probably too late. Make them work for it. But before the Kree-Lax could finish them off, new contacts appeared on radar. Massive ships dropped out of hyperspace. The distinctive arrowhead shapes of the Centauri battle fleet. Humanity's oldest and most cautious neighbors had finally chosen a side. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Centauri Republic," a familiar voice cut through all frequencies. "We were impressed by the human broadcast of your last stand. Consider this our application to join the fight." The Kree-Lax forces found themselves caught between the hammer of Centauri capital ships and the anvil of human desperation. The battle turned into a rout. Hours later, in the aftermath, Vex Thor stood before the combined human-Centauri fleet, officially surrendering his command. His expression was one of confusion rather than hatred. "I do not understand," he said to Drake, who had survived against all odds. "You were willing to sacrifice everything for aliens who are not even your kind. Why?" Drake's smile was fierce despite his exhaustion. "Because that's what humanity does. We stand with our friends. We fight for what's right. And we never, ever give up." "Then we have gravely miscalculated," Vex Thor admitted. "We thought your emotions made you weak. But they make you terrifyingly strong." The war wasn't over. The broader Kree-Lax Dominion would fight on. But that day marked a turning point. Word spread through the galaxy about the humans who would burn their own ships to ash, saving allies. About the species that fought hardest not for conquest or resources, but for friendship and loyalty. One by one, other races began to ally with humanity. Not out of fear or necessity, but because humans had proven themselves worthy of trust. They would stand with you until the last star burned out. As Drake watched the combined fleet grow, he thought of his fallen comrades, of Walsh's final words, of the Aldari children they'd saved. The price had been brutal, but the message was clear. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were the ones who would remake the galaxy, not through superior firepower or technology, but through unshakable determination and the simple power of keeping their word. The stars seemed brighter that night, as if they too burned with new purpose. And somewhere out there, the next battle waited. But this time, humanity wouldn't fight alone. When the next wave of Kree-Lax ships arrived 6 months later, they found not a scattered resistance, but a united front of 20 species. At their heart were the humans, battered, bloodied, but unbroken. Supreme Warlord Zexkar, Vex Thor's replacement, threw everything he had at the Alliance. The battle raged across 3 star systems, a clash that would be remembered for centuries. But for every human ship destroyed, 3 more seemed to take its place. For every loss, they fought back harder. The turning point came at the Battle of Proxima Ridge. The Kree-Lax had trapped the Alliance fleet against a field of quantum mines. Victory seemed certain. Then Captain Drake, now commanding a heavy cruiser, did the impossible. He deliberately triggered the minefield, using the chain reaction to create a corridor for the Alliance's slower ships to escape. His own vessel was torn apart in the process, but his rescue ships pulled survivors from the wreckage. Drake's last transmission became a battle cry that would echo across the galaxy. "Whatever it takes. Whoever needs us. Until the last star burns." The Kree-Lax never fully understood what they had awakened. They had expected to find weakness in humanity's emotion, in their willingness to die for allies. Instead, they had discovered an indomitable spirit that would reshape the very nature of galactic civilization. 2 years after New Eden, the war ended. Not with a dramatic final battle, but with a series of surrenders as Kree-Lax commanders looked at the forces arrayed against them. Human determination, backed by the combined might of dozens of grateful allies, and chose survival over extinction. At the signing of the peace accords, Admiral Chen, who had lost her son Mason in that first desperate battle, spoke for Earth. "We never wanted this war. We never sought to rule or dominate. All we wanted was to explore the stars and make friends along the way. But when you threatened those friends, you learned what humanity truly is. Not conquerors, not weaklings, but protectors. Remember that lesson well." The galaxy would never be the same. Where the Kree-Lax had ruled through fear, a new alliance arose built on loyalty and trust. At its heart were the humans, still learning, still growing, but now recognized not for their technology or their military might, but for their unshakable spirit. Years later, alien children would learn of New Eden, of the fighters who burned up their own ships to save refugees. They would hear of Captain Drake and his crew, of the countless others who gave everything not for glory or power, but because it was right. And in quiet moments between the stars, those children would ask their parents, would the humans fight for us too? The answer was always the same, until the last star burns. For that was humanity's gift to the galaxy, not advanced weapons or profound wisdom, but simply this, the unbreakable promise that no friend would ever stand alone.